Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the SARG Superspeedway Series NS Service. My apologies, NS Service Last Chance 200 at Talladega. This is race 8 of the season. I'm joined tonight by Tyler Riggs. My name is Matthew Rodriguez. Tyler, obviously, with this being the chase cutoff race, there's a lot of tensions on the line. A lot of I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. A lot of pressure, especially coming with a new drafting model. All the updates that happened on Tuesday. I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, I mean, Matthew, this is maybe one of the crazier cutoff races we have ever seen here on the Flatout Racing Network, just because of all the issues you just mentioned. Not only is this a cutoff race where it's a system that is you've got to point your way in, this is now has completely changed because of all the changes on the server due to drafting and things of that nature. This is a true wild card finale for the regular season.
And just looking at the point standings right now, there's 3 guys who have nothing to worry about. That's Lucas Cram, Brandon Hoff, and Kyle Menger. Like I said, those guys, no matter what they do tonight, they didn't even have to show up. They will be into the chase. Now, the guys below them, they're a little bit less worried. Anywhere from Shane Howell all the way to Clint Spillman. They've got a little bit more breathing room to play around with. Shane Howell and Brady Floyd are pretty much locked in, barring someone having a perfect points day and them having an awful day. After that, pretty much 10th through 23rd, it's anyone's game. Pretty much anyone has a really good day and someone has a bad day, you can get in.
Yeah, and that 10th through 13th or so, that's going to be a really interesting spot. Really, all the way down to about 18th in standings. Man, I mean, there's guys, Derek Stanley, Matthew Oliveira, Gavin Jones, Britt Murphy, with some of the luck they've had, they would have thought, man, there's no way we have a shot at making the playoffs coming into this final race. But there is really about a group of 8 to 10 guys, Michael, that we're going to be having to really watch and keep an eye on, because things could change in a hurry, as you know, on these super speedways.
And we took the green flag. You see the guys 3 wide back there even. Now, obviously, there's a lot of speculation coming into this race with the new updates on Tuesday, improving side drafting, improving how the cars pretty much acted in the draft. Little things that these drivers, maybe took for granted. I was hearing there's a lot of instability following another car. Hey, this top line can really be overpowered if we get enough of train up here and get people running around the track where it's even faster than the bottom when all lined up.
Yeah, that would be something to monitor and watch here in the early going to see how those guys feel it out. Plus, with Talladega being so wide as it is, we always know there's multiple lines, Matthew, and I'm curious to see how aggressive some of these guys are early on, maybe next year.
Now, here's the big question is, hey, if you're someone back, 18th place, 15th place in points, I mean, obviously, this is your make it or break it race to get in, but, do you really want to start taking risks early? And, hey, you can get playoff points, you can get stage points. Those are things that can really make your life easier where, hey, if your competition, let's say Robbie Lyons is currently 11th in points. If he, let's say, doesn't get a good stage finish, I mean, if you finish about first, second, third in stage, you can just start accruing bonus points to really aid your last push into the chase. And just looking down here, Brandon Hoff still leading the field. Alex Fox falling in behind. Another person I actually want to kind of pull a little attention to is Quinn Gingrich. I mean, earlier in the season, we were at Daytona, and we were kind of looking at him because he hadn't got a win. He was looking for his first win, managed to pull it off, and now he's in the chase hunt where he's in that conversation where he puts together a good run today, maybe even a good top 5. He is in that category where he doesn't need a lot of luck to get in. He can still race his way in. You see him get a little bit unstable there on the bottom. And still looking throughout the field, double file looks like past Spillman in 10th place. Now, I want to point out a lot of these guys, obviously you see a lot of the Valvoline cars, a lot of the grit livery has been replaced with Valvoline this week. I'm just looking at this. Obviously, Brandon Hoff, I'm not sure if actually Hoff was included, but I definitely know for a fact Lucas Cram, Nick Olson, they were just signed to Kligerman Esports for their Road to Pro program. So we're going to be trying to make a push in the next 8 weeks with the next 8 races, trying to bide their chances to get into the iRacing Pro Series to eventually, hopefully, get into the Coca-Cola Cup Series. Now, Riggs, how much dedication does it really take to get into that series? I might have lost Tyler Riggs here. But right now we just saw a battle for the lead and a pass for the lead. Alex Fox taking command, but Lucas Cram on the outside doesn't look like he wants to give it up easily. And that makes it very difficult for people like pretty much Fox, where, I mean, look around and he's surrounded by 3 Valvoline cars, and you're the one lone Ford out there. So obviously you might not have the help that you're expecting. Oh, as it looks like the 39 of the Careless gets a little bit loose there in the back. Still looking throughout the field. Now we're going a little bit more races, keeping it about 2-3 wide. And you got to remember, these guys have one faster pair to work on. They've got one faster pair to fall back on and kind of take their chances, will almost a reset button. But you don't want to use that in the first 5 laps of the race. So that's really what comes into pressure. And right now we're seeing right between Dylan Holland and Lucas Cram, I heard a lot of these drivers really have issues pushing. They mentioned the aero push was really more effective in the actual pushing of the bumpers, because when you start putting the bumpers on the cars, that's when they really started feeling unstable and they started feeling a little bit floaty. So that's definitely something you need to be on the lookout for. And just looking throughout the field, definitely people you want to keep an eye on. Nick Olson. Olson is not locked into Chase, but he's definitely someone you should keep an eye on, because we've seen in previous races him push just a little bit too much and then unfortunately get into an accident. And I said, just one accident here can really derail your chances for the rest of the race. So it's right now, I think he's playing the really smart strategy, hanging back here, it looks like, with Brady Floyd and Lyons, and just trying to manage his points and make sure he stays in. Lyons is another one of the interesting stories here, because Lyons doesn't really come in with a very good buffer. I believe he's 5 points to the good of the cut line. So honestly, it's a real question of whether he's going to be trying to push and get those stage points. Obviously, with the stage points comes a lot of risk. We saw it in practice where a lot of these cars, I mean, they're really testing the limits of how they could draft, who they could push, everything else. And that's been one of the big concerns. Matthew Oliveira has been another person I've been keeping my eye on. Oliveira looks strong in practice. He's still within range to win, or at least get in on points. So that's definitely something we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and Matthew, you just talked about 3 drivers that, all great points on those guys. To add a little bit to Olson, I mean, he's been a checkers or wreckers type of guy this season, as one of the few multiple-time winners on the season. And we joked with him last time we had him in the booth, just because of that. He understands how crazy it's been. And then you see that 57 of Matthew Oliveira, that guy has been up there in a lot of situations, folks, as you've seen throughout the race season, just hasn't been able to capitalize. He's going to be happy that he's got at least a shot coming into this one.
At least I can say from this point of standing, knowing Olson as a personal friend, I remember hearing Olson, at least back when I was racing the official races in iRacing, and you'd speak Nick Olson's name and you'd hear, grown as looks like the 9 car goes around. 95 2's involved. Looks like a caution out of 3. Not exactly sure what happened there. It looked like it started on the bottom line, so it may have been a push gone wrong. Take a quick look back over here. Honestly, we look from the 2 car there. It looks like the 2 of Dagger really had to avoid the accident, accidentally caught the wall and spun himself back down the track. But that wasn't really the start of our incident. Start of our incident looked like it involved the 9 of Brandon Hotler. Actually, that was not the 9 car. It was someone running the 9 custom number. So let's go ahead and take a look back here a little bit and see. I believe Jacob McMillan was also caught in that. I'm not positive. Here we have from McMillan's onboard. See, it looks like the 8 right in front of him. The 8 of Michael Elliott just looks like Quinn Gingrich may have stopped him up just a little bit. Maybe he wasn't expecting him to dip down that quickly. Or maybe just a bad bump. Let's take a look from the 8 car of Michael Elliott. Just looking here, you see Gingrich's back bumper here. And it was just inside line check. Gingrich managed to get out of line a little bit, saved it, but unfortunately, really just looks like chain reaction, just sacked up the field, and the rest of them went.
Matthew, we see that a lot, especially I would imagine with these new physics here. It's going to happen even more. These checkups are going to be real tonight as guys continue to try to fill things out with the new update and kind of see how they stack up.
And that's the big thing. It looks like everyone's coming down pit road here at the moment. And you've really got to wonder, hey, 10 laps into the race, is anyone really taking tires? Well, you got to think old tires on super speedways make it a lot more loose, especially coming out of pit road and especially in the draft. You may not think it that much, but these worn tires do affect the cars a lot. That's what many people just don't anticipate about super speedway racing, where you think, hey, tires not important, gas is really king. Well, yes, gas is king, but you need grip.
Yeah, you do, Matthew. And, especially with how everything new is, I mean, that could be an unsung hero for some of these guys out there towards the end of the races. As we go on through this, they figure out that, hey, tires are going to matter a bit more today than they usually would. That's something to definitely watch out for. And I imagine you're going to see it may be a mix. Maybe it's still going to be no tires, possibly some 2 tires at times. Then, yeah, guys are going to slap on 4 good ones.
I will say, I'm looking at that new iRacing pace car, and that thing looks slick. Looks like kind of a mix between a Hyundai Elantra and a Audi S4.
Compete with these guys out here.
Yeah, obviously iRacing decided to go ahead and release a new pace car. Wanted to make a generic car that was not affiliated with any brand, not to show any favoritism, so we decided to make something of our own. I've heard some interesting names for it over the week, but obviously some slick looks. And right now, while we're pacing under the caution, we're going to send it to a quick commercial break. But don't worry, we've got an FRN side-by-side ready for you.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Garner, and team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Garner, and team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the NS Last Chance 200 at Talladega. And we were just talking back here. We were looking at through the field and just seeing some interesting names. I mean, Stephen Gale, he won the opener at Daytona. And he really hasn't been remarkable since. I mean, he had a few good finishes. He's been up front, but just never been able to close the deal here recently. So, Tyler, do you really think he can get it done?
Yeah, he probably can. He had some of those same issues last season. He did it without a win, though, where, he was close a lot of times and just caught himself in the wrong spot, wrong time. Because of that, he has capitalized a little bit better this season, I think. hey, if any guy could make it in, he's at least said, hey, I've won this season. I could maybe get myself there again.
And the green flag is back out. Now, it's worth noting, we also were looking through the field. Right now in points, Garrett Maines was on the cutoff space in 12th. Right now, Garrett Maines not in the field. So right now, Quinn Gingrich is surprisingly in the chase here at the moment where he's running. Now, he's followed closely by Matthew Oliveira and pretty much Brett Murphy, Ben McDonald, all those crowd. But that's going to be a really big decider of knowing that the battle is that close, and really when you're racing against your peers, you're going to be aiming for stage points more or less.
Yeah, and to that point, Matthew, you see a lot of these guys, McDonald, Gale, Gingrich, Oliveira, all up in the top 10 right now, knowing, that they can either help lock themselves in a little bit closer with some good stage points or put themselves over the edge right now to get them at least into the cutoff before you get to the second half of this race.
And we're seeing a little bit of difference in strategy here. I mean, when the race opened up, we saw everyone in the top 10 basically go about single file. But now it looks like the philosophy has changed and everyone's starting to fan out 2-3 wide here.
These guys are getting more comfortable and everybody's got to make moves. We talked about how you got a solid 10, maybe even 15 guys in this field right now that really want to solidify their positions or help themselves out points-wise. So for them, it's, hey, I got to get myself in position right now. Because one thing this series has proved is that with all the experience of these guys, sometimes it can be a little hard to go from the back to the front.
And as Alex Fox takes the lead, we're looking from the 9 of Brandon Hoff. And we saw the 16 of McDonald just slowly come up on his bumper, but you saw how loose he got even just having the 16 there. So that's really going to add into a little bit of the instability of, hey, when the guys are trying to make the moves in the final laps, I mean, usually you need that rear end grip to have just a little bit of confidence about the move you're about to pull if you're going to shoot out to another lane, as you see McDonald actually get abandoned on the bottom lane. But, I mean, does that really affect your thinking any of, hey, if I'm going to pull out on this guy, I mean, are you worried if you pull up into a different lane if it's going to stick?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, that happens a lot in this series. You got to hope that friends are around you sometimes, and you just saw it with McDonald where sometimes you make the wrong move or maybe some guys want to go and you just get left behind.
Absolutely. Right now, Lucas Cram is leading the charge, but Alex Fox just doesn't want to give that up. And we were talking about it earlier in the race, but obviously the 9 and the 44 teammates, I mean, you as a team owner are kind of in that position where, I mean, hey, if you've got a competitor's car in front of you, you're trying to push them in front of another one of your team cars. I mean, what kind of you're thinking there? Obviously you want to win the race, but obviously you don't want your team car to get freight trained on the outside.
Yeah, and this early in the race, you don't worry about as much. You just have you're up there up front, especially with a couple guys around you. Probably the biggest thing in that is if, like the situation Half is in right now where he's got a guy in front of him that's not a team car. You try to push that guy way out there so you can kind of drop down with your teammate and hopefully hook back up. If you can't, though, you just ride, you chop off some laps, and try not to make mistakes.
As we're currently just looking from the onboard of Hoff here, Half is definitely one of the stronger drivers this season. We've seen him more or less up front. Obviously, with all the other grit drivers, Lucas Cram's been kind of riding under the radar. He's, again, a guy who has nothing to lose today. I mean, he can go out, race as hard as he wants. If he wrecks the car, he wrecks the car. Next week, he's going to be fighting for a championship. So that's definitely going to be in the back of his mind that he doesn't have to worry about whatever this race comes out to. So he can obviously play defense and kind of help some of his teammates if that comes to it.
Yeah, and this is a unique spot for Cram, to your point. I mean, this is one of the few races, if not the only race on the season, where he doesn't have the target on his back, Matthew. A lot of these guys feel like week in, week out, Cram's the guy to beat. He's the one that seems to be always in control, whether he's leading or not. So for him to have a week like you're talking about where he can just say, you know what, I can be aggressive or I can lay back or do whatever, it's got to be a little bit of freedom out there for him.
Yeah, and I'm looking at James DeCarellis here on the outside. And we heard during pre-race, they pretty much all preached it where the outside lane, get enough cars up there and it will be faster than the bottom. So a lot of drivers have to be having that in the back of their mind and got to be thinking of, hey, when they're riding around the bottom lane for teammates, hey, if you see cars start forming up on that outside, are you willing to take the risk and see if you can make a giant freight train up there to get by the leaders? Or are you going to be the ones to kind of hold fast in the bottom line and hope that enough drivers don't hop top?
I mean, the top's always popular with at least a few guys, and now that everybody knows it's kind of the go-to line. I think there's going to be a fight for that top line. It may not present itself in this first stage, Matthew, but if we get closer to the end of that race, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these guys try to react to making moves.
Now, we also heard this pre-race, and we didn't believe our ears when we first heard it, but they actually started running it in practice. 2-car tandems are surprisingly making a return. We heard a few drivers say they can hook up 2 cars, shockingly together and not overheat or spin. So that's definitely becoming big later in the race, and obviously any drivers that have it may be holding their cards right now and not wanting to show the field, hey, look what I can do. And they're trying to keep a small advantage, but obviously a lot of drivers in the field, they may be thinking a little bit differently about this and seeing if they want to try it, or honestly, if they just don't want to deal with the risk, because easily you can hook a car around, you can blow an engine. A lot of things can happen here.
Yeah, to your point, Matthew, with so much unknown out there within these guys, what you can and can't do, I think a lot of guys are going to hold their cards in this first stage. You don't want to present a move too early and let other people see it and go, oh, that's how you do that. You don't want opportunities for guys to take notes on you. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if you kind of see, a lot more measured action in this first stage, and then after we get past that into the second half of the race, things will really pick up.
And unfortunately, it looks like the field just passed Brett Taylor. And Taylor looks like he may have gotten involved in that first accident. Definitely not been having the greatest of days. I mean, ran up to 9th, started in 18th, and unfortunately all the way back, and unfortunately 30th place. So obviously not the race he's looking for, but he may be holding a faster pair on for later in the race. So, I mean, do you think this is a solid call to kind of just ride around here, 30th place? I mean, you went 1 lap down, your first car lap down. Wait till later in the race, get a caution, get your lap back, do a faster pair, and hope for the best?
Yeah, now the one thing he's going to have to watch is the second group that's coming up on him. He's got to tag along with that group, because if he doesn't, Matthew, with how far he's fallen back to a lap already, there's no way he survives the first stage without going 2 laps down. If he doesn't have any draft, see right there, missed it. So that's huge. Now it's like, oh boy, this might not be the right decision, because you don't want to put yourself in a spot where past that stage caution, you really need some more help. So that'll be something to monitor going on.
Yeah, you might not be live, but I went ahead and took a look, and looks like Brett may be running about 168 in the corner. So obviously a questionable decision not to take the faster pair early. Because, I mean, here's the thing. You're losing the draft. You're losing so much time. Yes, you'll be down a faster pair, but I don't know if you would have been in this big of a hole if you took one right now. As we roll back up to the front with Alex Fox, still leads us down. Brandon Hoff in hot pursuit. Oliveira has been really showing his speed today. I mean, we saw it back. At least I saw it back in Daytona, I believe in race 5 and race 6. Seeing just how dominant he was after the first incident. He got caught in the wreck early, but after he took the faster pair late in the race, really came alive, really started pressuring these guys. So I'd be kind of curious to see if he can keep up pretty much the good pace that he has now.
Yeah, and he's a guy that, to your point, has been up there at times all season long. I think the thing that's gotten him is a bit of bad luck in terms of being in the wrong spot, wrong time, and then just maybe some missteps in terms of the moves he was trying to make.
Definitely look back through the field. I'd say the guy who probably is in the happiest position right now is Quinn Gingrich. Obviously, with Maine's not showing up, that automatically moves him into the 12th place in standings. Another notable was that the 54 of Christopher Tate, unfortunately, due to his his work schedule, he won't be able to compete in the last few races. So he willingly voluntarily gave up his standing spot, allowed the whole field to move up so he wouldn't have a dead car. Definitely an interesting thing, but that gave a lot of the guys in the back a lot more hope, saying, hey, now that a lot of these spots are opening up, it just opens up the door for anyone to really make a run up the field. As we're seeing right now, Lucas Cram and the 54 of Christopher Tate, looks like they're making that 2-car tandem work.
Yeah, an early test here. We'd like to talk about that tandem draft and kind of these guys testing their limits to see how it goes, because you can practice it all you want, Matthew, or try to. Sometimes you just got to pop it out in the race and see what happens.
Here's the big problem, which is you're looking at those Camaro noses, and everyone knows those Camaro noses are just a little bit pointier than the rest of the field. So, I mean, not saying that you might hook someone, but definitely there's a lot more opportunity since those body lines just don't match up. And definitely looking at another issue would be the overheating issue. NASCAR has made a few changes to the aero package and definitely the cooling package to make or pretty much dissuade from 2-car tandems. So another big question. I know I heard it in practice where, it looks like the Careless almost pulled out in front of the 30 or in front of the 54. But what we heard in practice was they were not hitting their temperature thresholds. They were able to keep holding it full out on top. So that's going to be a big question whether they can really kind of keep pushing without blowing the engine, without sacrificing any power.
Oh, and that'd be huge because with how talented a lot of these guys are, that could really maximize and enhance some of these runs. I mean, you could be seeing some prolonged battles towards the end of this race and some crazy runs because of that.
And Alex Fox still continuing his domination here up front. It really looks like he's just trying to lead early, get as much points as possible. Now, right now, Alex Fox is, I don't believe, anywhere in the championship standings, or at least not within a kind of a range that we have. Yes, I just double checked that he's not currently in the top 20 in points. So I believe right now, no matter what happens to him, he will be out. So right now, you're just really racing for pride. You're racing for wins at this point, just trying to take it away from the other guy. And obviously, if you have any teammates in the field, you're just trying to say, hey, I mean, look, you can follow me to a second place finish, get yourself a good points day, and hey, we'll be all happy.
Oh, yeah. And Fox, by the way, another guy, a lot of speed. Like I said, not top 20 in points right now simply because he's missed some races, but every time he does race here, he's usually going toe-to-toe or trying to with guys like Lucas Graham and, some of the other top guys here.
Just looking back to the field, at least some interesting names back here. Robbie Lyons has slowly made his way up the field, almost like he's really trying to start racing for some of those points. Now, he's one of the ones who are in the biggest kind of what-if space, since he was only 5 points above the cut line when we started the race in 11th. And he was hanging back around 20th, 30th, so that's going to be a big question mark whether he can get up the field. And obviously, you want to dominate early, you want to get stage points, because a lot of these guys can force your hand. Really, the max points that someone can get out of this race is 60. The max points, I can't remember who got it earlier in the season, but someone got max points of 59 by leading some stages, leading laps, really being up there. So if someone's really dedicated and really focused on getting into the chase, they're really going to be pushing and trying to get first place.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason, to kind of leave anything out there to your point. It's the last race of the regular season. If you're not fully locked in, I definitely think you need to be in the camp of being aggressive enough to kind of present yourself up front and really in that top 3 as much as possible, because it seems like in the series and kind of the way Superspeedway racing has developed really over the last, couple seasons across the server as a whole, it's better to be either right up front, Matthew, or you better be the last car in the,
car in the wall! Looks like Spillman in the 88, maybe. No, that actually was the Careless. The Careless tapped the wall there a little bit. It looked like on his own. He almost came down and took out a bit of a pack.
He kind of drifted upwardly, to your point. I mean, just didn't look like he got buffed up or anything, so we'll have to check in on that. Sometimes you have some issues out there with steering, but it looks like he's carrying on just fine.
Now, when I was talking pre-race to some of the drivers, they all really started pointing one finger at a guy who they had faith who probably could win this race and almost sneak his way into the chase. And that would be Derek Newsom. Surprisingly, I mean, he was running around in practice. We kind of saw best of both worlds with him. We kind of saw him running laps, being fast, pretty good times, and we also saw the second side of him, which is putting the car about 6 feet in the air. So, really, he could be a dark horse here to kind of work his way up the pack and maybe steal one.
Yeah, that's kind of his two modes. He's either up there throwing bows and competing for the lead, or like you said, he winds up kind of having some flight miles, if you will, up in the air. That's just, he knows it. He knows sometimes he is the worst beneficiary of some of that bad luck. That being said, I mean, hey, he's ran some smart races before and found himself with the chances at the end. Why not today?
Hey, there's only so many miles you can get before you get upgraded to first class, and he's definitely hoping for that one today.
Yes, sir.
And looking throughout the field, Mitchell Muma is also another one of them, or another one of the drivers that has. I just realized that Mitchell Muma is not actually in the race. But the field, Matthew Oliveira. I know we've talked about him multiple times, but he's honestly surprising me here, just running up front. Honestly, just staying solid. And it looks like first takers are coming down pit road now. And it's going to be a big question where grip. A lot of these drivers cannot stake on pit road and possibly get a speeding penalty or spin on pit road. So that will very, very much affect how their, unfortunately, their point standings will shake out here.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about these pit stops as well, Matthew, you don't need a full load of gas to get to the end of the stage. Usually in this situation, these guys would usually pit about halfway through the stage with that first caution. That was not the case. So now you don't have enough time to take 4 tires without losing time if some of these guys only elect to take 2. Let's see how this shakes out. Looks like we got
I noticed some of the guys in the back took 4. And that's a bit surprising that they decided to take that long on pit road. Looks like Dagger or actually it may be, I'm trying to look here. May have been Michael Elliott who took 4 tires. Not quite sure. But up front, Christopher Tate leads the field. Lucas Cram in hot pursuit. Jacob Locklear is another name that talked about very much in this race and this season. Locklear has been kind of slowly snaking his way up. I'm noticing 2 identical cars, at least about a car back. So I'm going to guess those 2 are teammates.
Yeah, Locklear's got a couple guys out there with himself, kind of like the Rick guys where they run those uniform paint schemes a little bit. So always interested to see that. But Locklear, a guy that's been close multiple times, had some podiums, had some bad luck at the end, but he knows how to get up there and make some of those moves to maybe finish one. It's always been a story of what if, not necessarily what has happened.
And pit entry comes into play again. And I'm almost debating about trying to petition the series to do what F1 does and try to make different colored panels on the car so we can differentiate some of these. Obviously, Matt put one on pit road, so leaders will cycle back over. But here's the big question: whether they'll take 2 tires or we'll just take a little bit of gas and get back on the track.
Yeah, let's see, and it will really be telling as the second group gets in and out. The other thing you have to watch, Matthew, in these situations is, how quick are you getting into your stall and out just outside the pit stop? There's a lot of time to be gained and lost, how aggressive you are there.
And just looking at Nick Olson here, Nick Olson's surprisingly running around the track. Looks like about 170. Not sure if he's low on fuel or possibly out of it. Pitted 22 laps ago, so he might be stretching a little bit of his fuel strategy, might be a little bit short. But right now he has no friends out there, so that's going to be a little bit of a concern coming to pit road alone.
Oh, yeah, this will be something else here. You might get freight trained real quickly.
Where Olson is not solid on his points here. He is still at risk of possibly losing his pretty much chase 12 spot. There's someone who's running up front, getting stage victories. Now, worth noting that it would be very difficult for Olson to lose his spot. He would need to have a little bit of unfortunate luck, but obviously running by yourself in a super speedway race where there is a possibility of low to almost none cautions, other than stage cautions coming up, that could be a little bit dangerous of a strategy.
Well, but he's a gambler. I mean, hey, I told you, the only 2-time winner of the season, or multi-winner of the season so far. And, a lot of those times is because he's had some risk like this. He likes to gamble a little bit in this first stage, simply because he knows most of the time, he gets chances to make it up. Now, to your point, there's been some cases where it's, been last minute. And, he gets down to the wire and you think, there's no way, he's going to be able to make it up. But he finds a way. So he's just trusting his process at this point.
And really, that's just perseverance. And it's almost a tale of 2 different stories where, looking at Lucas Cram, Lucas hasn't been the most exciting all season, has been one of the most consistent all season, just getting good, consistent finishes. And that's what allowed him to really almost point his way into the chase early where he didn't have to worry about it. Well, on the opposition, you look at Olson, where Olson, he's been gambling most of the season, and he's had some good finishes, but he's definitely had some bad finishes. So, obviously, it's a different strategy, and I'd say it's working for both of them, just with varying degrees of success.
Yeah, everybody's got their own style, right? Cram is definitely that guy that's just so consistently good, it's almost boring, and how good it is. It's just routine for him. Whereas Olson seems to have a little bit more flair for the drama, like you're saying, but both of them equally. Last season, kind of the same way, and they both wound up competing for the championship. Now, Cram would take it, obviously, but Olson could get there, there's no doubt.
Ooh, it almost looks like someone went down there side draft Olsen. That's another thing that we heard, that side draft is very powerful now. You can really get on the, almost pushing a car up to the wall and get an amazing run on them. So that's going to be another thing we're going to have to look out for. It almost looks like there is an incident there in the back. Almost looks like Olsen got into Spillman there.
Yeah, it looked like Olsen was down there letting the line pass. He had gone down under the apron. So I'm not quite sure if they made contact or not, but it looks like Olsen's still a little bit off speed.
This goes back to another thing where, oh no! Holland get turned into the inside wall. Looks like he might have saved it. Actually, a little bit of damage on the left front of that car. He didn't miss the commitment cone. So it looks like he's just coming down to get some new tires. Maybe
nope, yeah,
a little bit
right.
of damage. Oh, cautioned out.
What a break there for Holland. I mean, that was the worst possible angle you could get sit at into that inside wall. That is scary, but I think you did a pretty good job, Matthew, of making sure he didn't completely get KO'd.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that just looked like a miscommunication. I was almost going to bring up. I mean, we had that incident at Daytona where, I mean, like all the grid cars, I mean, they had contact with one another. That's very concerning, but I think this wreck will go to show, or at least the spin, how dangerous it is to have some of these cars just pushing on your bumper, just kind of hanging there. And you see looks like, I'm trying to identify a car there. Looks like maybe the 45 of Kobe Wells. Just looks like got him back bumper just a little bit. Maybe just got him a little bit of a shot. Go ahead and just start here. Just take a look at the from maybe the front end of the 45. Take a look from the front end here.
And all of those ankles took 40.
Yeah, it took, but it really just looks like a bad bump gone wrong. Gets it right on his bumper. It looks like Holland may have just lifted a little bit to maybe. I mean, you see the two grit cars come down in front of him, so maybe he's just trying to lift a little bit, give him some room to drop down, and looks like Cole just didn't get the memo. And honestly, I don't blame him. Just trying to let team cars in.
Well, and that's what it was, too. You saw the little bit of a bobble like you talked about with Holland. That slight movement up, especially with the way these bumpers are, which is another point you highlighted earlier, that's all it takes. I've done that 2 or 3 times to teammates, Matt. To teammates trying to do that type of stuff.
Oh, don't worry. I know TK.
yeah. So, I mean, it is the worst feeling. I don't think it was intentional, of course, even if he didn't want to let the team cars in, but it's just, that's all it takes, especially with this new package, that one slight mistake.
That's going to be the big question. Is, I mean, you said it yourself. You just never want to hit team cars, but unfortunately, when you have, it looks like 5-6 cars in the field that are running under your banner. I mean, here's the thing: you cannot run flawlessly for 14 races and be competitive. Just saying that flat out.
Yeah, I mean, and you're going to have some issues, in that sense, like you're talking about. You can't be afraid. Is what it takes is you just got to have trust and confidence, not only in what you're doing, but in your guys, And will there be miscommunications? Absolutely. But the best teams, best drivers figure out how to kind of overcome some of those obstacles. Like we're talking about with the bumpers not lining up, depending on what manufacturer you're running. They figure it out. And these guys are all top-level talents.
And definitely the big question has to be, and on some of these drivers' minds is, hey, how do you bounce back from something like that? Because no one likes getting turned, and especially getting maybe punted by a teammate or having an incident with a teammate. That does affect your psyche a little bit. That does affect your confidence and maybe your trust in the team. How do you kind of rebound from that?
If it's something that happened with the teammate, usually you talk about kind of what could have went different, right? You don't say, well, I wish it is what it is. No, you need to learn from that mistake. And then if it's with another person, let's say you were the victim of maybe a bad bump or something, you just got to brush it off. You got to move on to the next race, especially in a super speedway series like this, because everything's so up and down as is, Matthew. You could easily finish dead last and then come back to the next race and, run the perfect race and get that win, and it kind of averages out. So got to always be, a little bit like a quarterback memory. You just kind of either don't ponder on it very long, or you just straight up forget about it and move on.
True. And I mean, I said sometimes people say race car drivers have the excellent memory, but maybe something that happened a few weeks back that will come into play maybe right now, or maybe in a race 2-3 races ahead.
Yeah,
That's coming into mind.
If you're truly mad at the guy like that, I mean, that you got to really think about that one on Super Speedway. If this was a series that didn't run, only Super Speedways, you could probably be a little bit more revengeful, because you could say, hey, I could single this driver out and get my payback. But on a Super Speedway series like this, you better be thinking about your revenge, because sure, you may take out the driver you're looking to take out, but you're probably going to take out 2 to 3 others that you didn't mean to. So that might cause problems.
And you got to think, I mean, here's the thing. We're getting to the end of the season now where, I mean, tensions are high. I mean, any drivers that, obviously, you're not going to race like an angel at everyone. But here's a time where a lot of these favors start getting paid back. And maybe you helped me earlier in the season. You're trying to make a postseason run. Let me see how I can do to help you. Or, hey, you turned me in turn 1 of race 1. I think it's time for me to pay that back here.
Yeah, no doubt there. And, all the payback could be as simple as, well, I'm just going to leave you out to dry. I mean, you never quite know the motives of some of these guys. I mean, they all try to race their hardest, even teammates and teammates.
And just looking at Robbie Lyons here, it looks like he's lining up in the 2nd position. He has had quite an eventful day. Qualified 20th, ended up racing his way all the way up to 2nd. He was back in almost 30th at one point. So he's really been bouncing around all today. Just, do you think he's got a strategy, or more or less, hey, wherever the wind takes me, I'll just show up?
Robbie's one of those guys that usually picks his spots pretty well. Now, because of that, sometimes he gets really unlucky. That's why he just got his first win in SARG, 2 weeks ago, despite being one of the fastest drivers out there. He's just had been unlucky that many times and come so close. But he knows how to pick his spots. He really does. And, this is kind of one of those deals. He knows when to find himself maybe up there at the right times. And, sometimes when he thinks it's the right time, although it turns out to be the wrong time. But the good thing is, too, Cram and the rest of those great guys that are super fast, they trust him. He's part of that group.
You know who I spotted in my eye? I just spotted Derek Newsom working his way up to the 3rd position. That's definitely someone I got my eye on here.
Yeah, Newsom's not going to be afraid to mix it up, because he knows he has to make some moves like a lot of these other guys, whereas Cram and Lyons maybe don't have to be as aggressive this early. So we'll see how they treat that up there.
Man, look at that outside line. There's no one on that outside line.
This has happened more times than I can count on racing season, because guys want to pit again, so they get trapped behind those lap cars. It creates these awkward restarts.
Yeah, I'd be feeling a little bit lonely on that outside. Like, man, where's all my help?
Well, hey, now with the tandems, who knows?
And right now, we're seeing Robbie Lyons almost squeeze the 50 of Derek Newsom. It almost looked like Cram was trying to assist Robbie, just trying to get down. I believe they're in the same team room, so he's probably counting down his start. Unfortunately, it looks like Derek also counted that start pretty well, too.
Yeah, Derek was on it.
There's some action in the back look between Spillman and Gale. Spillman, someone we actually really haven't been talking too heavily about. He's usually hanging up front. Almost been kind of sneaking around today.
Yeah, he's been a lot less present, to your point, of where he usually is up front. And maybe this time today, just, try and be a little bit more calculated. He's had some really tough luck in terms of races slipping away, so maybe he's taking a little bit more careful.
And he's got to think, a lot of this, some people say super speedways aren't very much skill, but I'm going to tell you, especially with a lot of new updates and really just how super speedway racing has been the past few years, it takes a lot more skill than people realize. And trust me, it does have a little bit of luck too, but you can't get here on luck alone.
No, you can't. And, especially in super speedway series racing, and people think, it's all a crapshoot. No. There is a reason that Lucas Cram is leading, half the races every single week, because, he knows how to control things up front. And you could tell real quickly when some of those guys get up there and they feel like, they could just, it's easy, right? And then all of a sudden something happens and they get shuffled back, or, they get a little bent out of shape and they kind of realize, okay, like these guys up here know exactly what they're doing. I got to step up my game.
You also have to look back at where SARG is not a series that just sticks with one car for pretty much the entirety of it. SARG, if you've watched the previous season, when I believe our 2020 season, they actually were racing the, I believe, at least for the first part of the season, they were racing the new Camping World Truck Series.
Yes,
trucks. And then for the All-Star race, they swapped over to the old, I believe it was the Craftsman truck, caught out, wrecking 3. Looking back here, it looks like Dagger may have been involved. Holland may have been involved again.
Looks like a wreck that may have been a lot more cars, but wasn't quite, Matthew.
Just trying to look for some cars here. Ooh. Go ahead and take a look. Just trying to find the best car to ride on board with just to see what happened. Go ahead and look on board of the 5-car of Holland here. And looks like it happened up in that first pack. That's a big thing that we saw where, don't think we mentioned it, but that second pack really started to fall back. I think they may have been trying to execute some fuel strategy here and kind of stayed themselves a little bit. I believe DeCareless was involved. Take a look here. I believe Jeremy Jones may have also had a part in it.
Well, and the other reason that second back was hanging back, Matthews, for this reason right here. In the second half of the race, things are going to get a little crazier up front. You just hang back for a little bit and catch a caution or two.
And just looking here, and you just see Jeremy Jones just gets a little bit unsettled. And like I said, it's just the fact of when he got sideways, no one behind could avoid him. So that's definitely the big killer here, where your chase chance to be hurt by something even of your own control. That's what I'm looking at in the 52 of Stephen Gale. Nowhere to go. He was involved in this and really had no chance to check up, no chance to avoid it. Alex Fox also got involved. You just look at it, crunkled the whole front end. So that's going to be a question. I believe you got a faster pair left, but do you use it now and hope that another caution doesn't come out? Or do you save it and hope for maybe later in the race you can utilize it?
Hey, if the damage is bad enough at this point in the race, you're not guaranteed another caution. So you really have to consider using it, despite you not wanting to, because sometimes that's the best bet. We just saw it with the, who am I thinking of? Excuse me.
23 of Brett Taylor.
Yeah, 23 of Taylor, where you lose all that time, and then he's just searching for that caution and hoping he doesn't go 2 laps down. You can't take that risk. He's now sitting 3 laps down the race, and he's got himself out of it. So if your damage is bad enough to where you're going to be down plenty of horsepower to not keep up with the field, you got to take it. If not, if it's probably about within a minute or so, typically that's enough to say, okay, I can repair it, still be fast enough to keep up, and then keep it in your back pocket.
Yeah, definitely. Now, while we're under this caution, we're going to go ahead and take one more FRN side-by-side. We're joining you here when we're getting ready to go green.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Teague. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you can only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engines.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We currently have focus on our screen. Once you get past all the RVs, you got Brett Murphy in the NS Service Ford Mustang. Now, obviously, we haven't been talking about him today. We may have not been talking about much of the field, but looking through here, Brett Murphy's another one of those guys who has the potential to sneak into the playoffs. Obviously, looking at kind of the stage points here, he may have not put himself in the most optimal position, and he has been involved in an incident, but he's one of those guys where a lot of these guys may have a bad finish. He's one who can capitalize.
Oh, no doubt. And, don't be surprised when he's up there running the top 5 at the end of the race. Because he will find a way. It's just the big issue with him is always he's just kind of been on the wrong end of a move, whether he's getting past or trying to make a pass that doesn't work. That's got to stop sometimes in terms of bad luck. He'll be on the right end at some point.
Now I've got to ask. I mean, we've kind of giggled seeing Derek Newsom up here, but right now he's hanging about 19th in points. I mean, it's really, this is your whole season on the line, and he can really still make a really aggressive swing at this and hope for some bad luck from his competitors. I mean, is he someone that you really see taking a swing at the fences and just saying, hey, if I die, I die? Or is he someone saying, well, maybe if I hang around here, I can get a good finish?
Oh, no, I think he is all on board of, I'm either bringing home the checkered or I'm bringing home the wheel, one of the two. And, I can't blame him. He's in a spot where, feasibly, he can make it with some help. But, he's got to leave it all out there and say, I didn't give my best shot to go win this race. And, whatever happens points-wise after that happens. But it looks like he got shuffled out there, unfortunately.
Yeah, 38 of Howell actually got shuffled back. It looks like in 3 and 4, we went about 4 wide for a minute with Howell on the apron. Everyone's looked like they're going about single file here currently, and that definitely aids a lot of the grit guys, because looking at the top 5, all those guys are on the same team. They're all on the same page. But going back, looking at Gingrich, looking at McDonald, looking at Newsom, those guys can really kind of disrupt this. But it's fuel strategy kind of playing in your head here at the moment where, hey, if I hang in line, I just kind of sit here, maybe I can save some fuel. I can go a little bit longer with some of these guys.
Yeah, simply because we did get that caution at kind of a odd fuel range. Not necessarily that you can make it all the way from this point. You would have needed about another 10 laps to be guaranteed there. But you could make it to a situation where some guys have to take more fuel than you at the end of this race. You could afford to pit a little bit later. And so that might be a place where you can save some time and separate yourself when it gets tight if it stays green.
I will say I've been looking through this field, and Quinn Gingrich is definitely someone I've been looking at least on corner and at least on entry to the straightaways. I mean, his car has really been looking like it's been dancing around the back end. Just does not look planted.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's truly planted out here. I mean, I think these guys are all fighting within that car. I mean, the way they've talked about things leading up to the race, you could tell there was a lot of, tightening that might be going on, if you will, whenever they actually get out on track for the race.
Obviously, looking back here, it looks like the 13th of McMillan is really leading the second pack. Now, I will make some of my own personal observations. Was hanging out with Jacob, at least pre-race, and he almost seemed to have this, almost the track down on almost a science where he was saying, all right, this lap will do this. I mean, this corner needs to run like this. I mean, it's just it's amazing to see how great of a grasp with some of these guys. I mean, even the update just came out on Tuesday. Well, these drivers had less than almost 24 hours to practice and learn with these cars. And just seeing how much they've already grasped the concept, how much they've already got these cars dialed in and know how they act.
Well, and you talk about McMillan specifically. That was another guy that came up short in terms of really accomplishing what he wanted to last season. And so I think is what that did. He took a lot more attention to detail of the things, and sounds like that's maybe paying off, because be able to, like you said, on such a short turnaround, be able to diagnose everything so quickly, that's a big plus. That helps you a lot with confidence out there in what you're doing.
Now, here's another big thing where McMillan's also in those kind of that crew where he's not totally locked into the chase. I mean, he entered this race in 10th in points. Obviously, he was kind of aided by Maines dropping out and not showing up for the race. That definitely comes into factor, but you got to be looking at this here and saying, hey, I mean, it's not to the danger zone yet, but it's definitely has to have his attention where, I mean, I've got to catch up to this field and I've got to kind of make my move here.
Yeah, and he also is in a point where he's got a little bit more freedom to take it easy towards the end of this race, at least until he wants to get up there and really start battling. So, and there's a couple guys like that. So it's just about running a smart race at this point.
Now, here's my big thing where we haven't really seen any drivers really experiment that top lane and really trying to make a freight train on the top lane. Do you think they're holding that for the last 15, 20 laps, or are they really just not that confident up there? Because, I mean, you and me, we both run Superspeedway races, and we know the psychology that comes to this where, I mean, you take that risk the moment you hop out of line. Where, I mean, hey, you're giving up your prime position in the bottom where, I mean, mind tells you, hey, bottom shortest moving around the track. That's where I want to be. To hop on the high lane where people may duck out in the high lane while you're trying to get up there. You think anyone's going to be brave to try it? Maybe even without a team.
Yeah, but I think for the top tier guys, if you will, as we get closer to the end of this race, it's kind of like playing a game of Texas Hold'em. You don't want to show the hand early on the flop or pre-flop. You want to get a couple guys kind of lured in a little bit, to maybe not believing you're actually there, or know kind of how to utilize it, and all of a sudden you just hit them with it right there, in the final few laps and get them that way.
So it almost looks like there might be a difference of strategies here in the back. I mean, just looking at it, looks like Dagger and the Careless almost looked like they had a little bit of a disagreement about what they should do. I mean, looks like the Careless and Dagger really wanted to kind of hop out of line, see if they can maybe pass a few cars. I'm pretty sure you've experienced this too, where, I mean, hey, maybe you're behind a slow car in line, but obviously with the air bubble that there is now, you really can't jump out of line and try to make a pass in some of these cars.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck, and I think the second group is also in a spot, Matthew, where they kind of figured maybe you get another caution that lines up with the pit window. That's why they're hanging back a little bit, because, as this continues to stay green, they really would rather say, okay, I want to be up there with the lead pack. That way I can pit with them and not lose time and not have to gain time.
Oh! Gavin Jones almost turned into 20 of Brady Floyd. Got a little bit flirty with the back bumper. Good save.
Big save for sure. Yeah, a little bit of a check up there by Floyd, and that was almost a dangerous situation. Jones running that Chevy. Sometimes things get a little askew, and almost happened right there.
And that's the big thing where it almost looks, obviously this pack does not want to lose that lead pack. You still want to be a little bit within range of it. And that's what I think maybe some of these drivers are trying to clamor about right now, but maybe they don't think that they're close enough to the front of the pack. Maybe they're thinking that, hey, we're kind of letting off too much time. We're kind of falling a little bit too far away from the lead pack. I mean, is there any way we can kind of bump it up the speed a little bit, kind of push? And I mean, you saw Brady Floyd just pushing on the back bumper of Alex the entire way down the back straightaway.
Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely being aggressive with it. It's a lot of trust right there, Matthew, between Mr. Floyd and Mr. Fox. Say, okay, you know what, you could just go ahead and lay on it. But some
I'm definitely seeing a little bit stranger of an approach. Yeah, a little bit stranger of an approach from Gavin Jones, where I'm seeing Gavin try to push Floyd in the corners. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe that's an agreement they have, or maybe just the 12 not checking up. But that could either be, hey, what helps you to back up to the pack, or that could be, sorry about that. We had a slight technical issue But right now, Lucas Cram still leads the field here over Robbie Lyons. And you really got to be questioning some of these decisions where, I mean, you see Lyons in second place, and you know Lyons is here for the points. You got to be wondering, why isn't Cram possibly letting Lyons lead a few laps, trying to get him maybe a point lead or something of that sort?
Because although they're friends, good buddies, hey, it's dog eat dog out there. Lucas Graham still wants to dominate. He wants some bonus points as much as possible heading into those playoffs.
I'm not going to dispute that. But still looking throughout the field, it's mostly single file here. And it looks like the second group has split up just a little bit. Looks like maybe some of them had issues. We see looks like the 54 of Christopher Tate on the inside line. Possibly some disagreements there, but you see this back second kind of car field is a little bit broken up here. See Ben McDonald entered pit road.
Yeah, and this is why I'm seeing some of this is because I really think, Matthew, some of these guys realized, okay, hey, we're not getting back up to that lead pack. Some guys wanted to, but with them not being able to do that, green flag pit stops looming here. Now you're seeing everybody jockeying for position in the second group. That way they could, in their minds, hopefully be the lead car or two once they're able to catch up to that lead pack maybe after the pit stops.
See, here's my thing where, in my mind, it's once you drop out, ooh, Alex Fox into almost the 12 of Jones. Man, they are just really unstable up there. It looks like they're trying to push a little bit. And you just see some guys ollieing out. Almost looks like some of them are coming down pit road. Looks like Christopher Tate might be one of those guys who ended up taking that early exit. But you just got to be thinking there where some of these guys are just not that brave. And also, a lot of these guys, I don't know about you, but how I took it always was once I made my bed and I decided to stay in that second pack, I mean, I got to stay with this second pack because there's no way I'm getting back up to that first pack alone.
Yeah, but I think
Alex Fox went around. No caution, but it looks like he may have gotten a little bit of assistance. Not quite.
Oh, yeah, that was him and the 20 there, I believe, that tapped together. And that was just that little wiggle like we saw some of our previous incidents where Floyd not necessarily, or excuse me, I don't think that was Floyd, but still the car behind him, not necessarily trying to do that, Matthew, but just that little bobble on a wrong tap, all of a sudden he's around.
And that's exactly what we were talking about. It's so dangerous to these cars sometimes where just front ends don't match up. And hey, when you're trying to make those split-second moves, you could accidentally hook someone. So obviously, but here's the thing, that starts getting a stigma around you with some of these other drivers where, I mean, again, a lot of these drivers talk to each other and they're pretty much saying, hey, I don't want to be around that guy because that guy almost hooked me and that guy just hooked that guy because I don't want to be around him. So that could definitely affect you a little bit later in the race as well.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it absolutely kind of makes you rethink things and say, okay, do I really want to mess with this guy or not down the stretch?
Absolutely. It looks like the 12 of Gavin Jones also taking a trip down pit lane. That's going to be an interesting strategy here, trying to see, because right now it doesn't look like any of these guys can make it to the end on fuel.
No, none of these guys that have stayed out so far can. Is what they're trying to do at this point. They're committed saying, hey, we're going to run this out as deep as we can, and then you want to take as least amount of fuel as possible to get to the end and maybe cover a green-white. Even then, I don't know if I would try to cover it. You just want to basically minimize your time on pit road, so hopefully you gain the advantage that way despite being behind kind of the lead group.
And right now it looks like Brandon Hoff is really the first car leading the charge back. Him and Spillman are coming off pit road now. It looks like their pack got a little bit broken up coming out of pit road. So a lot of those guys are kind of split. You see Holland and Olsen over there. A lot of these guys just don't look like they're organized, so it's going to be a big question to see a lot of guys come down pit road now. I don't know if, it looks like Stephen Gale didn't get the memo, maybe missed pit road. He ended up staying out an extra lap, so that may affect him if he doesn't get this exit correct. Right now, everyone's on pit road. Looks like some are taking 2 tires on the right side. I see the 38 car taking 4 all around. It's definitely an interesting differ of strategies, but a lot of these guys are coming around now. Holland, Olsen, Floyd, Strayer. Looks like the guys coming off pit road did not plan this right, so we're going to be a few seconds behind.
And that's a tough break for them. They were hoping that wouldn't be the case, but it looks like, yeah, to your point, there's going to be at least a couple cars ahead of them, though. How quickly can they get formed, though? Because they can still push back up and get up there and make this battle, but you've left yourself with not a lot of laps to do that now.
And we see Stephen Gale coming down pit road, and this will very effective. You see the field almost come off of 4 there. Got 4 cars coming around. Got Chris Sawyer, Holland, Olsen. A lot of those guys just almost making a 4-car pack here. So here's the big question. Now the top 4 almost doesn't have a really good breakaway. Or top 3 really have a good breakaway where it's 26, 42, the 5 and the 24. Currently the 26 is, it looks like, really on the cusp of the lead lap. So he pretty much, if Stanley lets the 42 by of Sawyer, he will be going a lap down. So he's not for position. We're looking for these guys in the back. As you see Olsen and Holland start to catch up. Definitely brings a little bit of new insight to this where maybe they can make it to the end, or they're just trying to stretch it out as far as possible and maybe hope for a caution in their favor. See Holland come down the pit road now. Everyone's and see the field come here off of 4. So Brandon Hoff and Lucas Cran will be leading us back as the cycle completes. And it's almost been the same case all season. You've got 2 grit cars, or 2 grit esports cars up front, followed by Spillman. Spillman's been keeping it pretty quiet this entire race. Nice to see him up here trying to make a charge, as well as Robbie Lyons trying to make that 5 for that final playoff spot.
Yeah, and this front group, Matthew, has really got to like how this is shaped up. Now those 2 groups behind them have to work pretty much nonstop from this point on to even catch up and kind of make their way up there. But that 2 seconds is pretty significant with 9 to go. So it kind of allows the freedom for this first group to duke it out a little bit. Now, they can't go too crazy because if they do, yes, those second and third groups will probably catch up pretty quick. That being said, with the grid guys in control, this might just kind of be their night.
I said a guy I'm looking at here, but I'm really hoping he pulls through. Has to be Quinn Gingrich. I mean, obviously seeing him break through at Daytona, and it's almost like it's breathed a new almost air into him where he seems a lot more competitive, seems a lot more focused, and he's really trying to hound some of these guys.
Well, it's the confidence level. A lot of these guys are really talented, and they go through these dry spells, especially in a series like this where you can catch so many bad breaks in a row, and you just go, man, when am I going to catch a break? And then when you finally do and you get that big win you've been wanting, or that big top finish, man, it just absolutely feels otherworldly.
And you've got to be knowing, and a lot of these drivers in the back of their mind, they have to be saying, like, I know this isn't going to be the finish. I know we're not going to go green all the way. But, I mean, realistically, that is a possibility where it could go green all the way. And a lot of these drivers in the second and third packs, I mean, they could be thinking right now, man, I shot myself in the foot. I shouldn't have dropped back this ball. And that's unfortunately sometimes how Superspeedway racing. And sorry about the delay, viewers, but unfortunately, Matthew Oliveira looks like he just got turned from the turn 3. Let's go ahead and take a look back and see what we have of that incident. Let's go ahead and take a look here. And it almost looks like a bad bump or just a disagreement on bump here. Let's go ahead and take a look. I'm just looking here. You see the 64 of Brett Jones. It looks like Oliveira maybe washed up the track a little bit and just unfortunately gave him just a little bit of a look, and unfortunately with the arrow and
they were already squarely in the middle of the corner right there, Matthew. I mean, you saw it on the replay right there. And once you get squarely in that corner and you got the guy behind you, kind of canoeing a little bit back and forth, man, it makes it tough to not have an incident. Unfortunately, that's what happened. And, of course, green-white checkered. Things are about to get absolutely bonkers.
We know a lot of these drivers have to be saying in the back of their mind where, man, I really want this last caution to come out. The back half of the field says, man, I want a caution to come out and have another shot at this. And the front half of the field says, man, no caution, no caution. So obviously this is definitely kind of a heartbreaker for them.
Oh, yeah. And how about that 48? Quinn Gingrich was making his move to try to get to the lead as that caution was coming out and was trying to hold that. Yeah, he, definitely didn't want that caution. But like I said, all those guys, that second, third group even are like, oh, here we go. Here's our break.
And definitely nice to see the different strategies here. Just looking at this, looks like Brady Floyd, Lucas Cram, like some of these guys are really kind of staying out here at the moment. So definitely a different strategy. Some of these guys want fresher tires. Some of these guys just maybe are not so solid on fuel.
Yeah, this could be fireworks right here, whether it be fuel or tires. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the broadcast where, yes, tires aren't always the biggest thing at Superspeedways, but man, I mean, with this new package, who knows? Maybe this is going to be the race-winning difference for some of these guys where they took 2 tires or 4 or none.
And that's the big question. And just looking throughout the field here, I mean, Lucas Cram, I honestly, I feel like the people who should be going balls to the walls probably aren't going to be going balls to the walls, and people who shouldn't be going balls to the walls are definitely going to be. Definitely two culprits that I'm looking at right now is Lucas Cram. Lucas really has nothing loose. I mean, if he pushes the envelope, really tries to force something, he would not lose by doing this. While I'm looking back in 5th place there, if Derek Newsom, and I'm saying, I'm feeling like he's going to push the envelope.
Yeah, I think a guy like Lucas Cram is in the perfect spot. Not only does he have nothing to lose, it's all about getting those bonus points for him, right? So he could do whatever he pleases, not have to worry about the repercussions if kind of a mistake happens or, he gets crashed out. So he's dangerous in this field with as fast as he is. Then, yeah, guys like Derek Newsom, like you said, Jones, some of these other guys, Gale, maybe even McMillan, that are in or on the bubble, but not quite guaranteed. Yeah, they're going to be pushing like crazy, saying, you know what, I gotta keep it in my control. I can't hope, stuff happens.
And you're really going to be wondering if some of these guys, I mean, they have to be thinking about their decision to come pit, because the first car that was on pit road that just really got out back up to the field was Clint Spillman, and the 88. He's currently residing in 8th or 16th place. I mean, we were talking about Quinn Gingrich and how he was making his move to kind of really get there in the final laps, and he's currently marred back in 20th. So, I mean, you got to think, like, some of these guys make the right decision.
I mean, you could come from anywhere in this field. I've seen crazier in terms of guys coming from, 20th on back or whatever, up through. So I don't know if there really is a best decision. It's just whatever, the driver feels like is the right move for them at the time. Because these guys get, 3 green, white checkered attempts. So you could easily have 2 more. And some of those guys that were in 20th within another green, white checkered or 2, maybe they missed the big wreck, and they're benefiting off that. It really depends.
You said it. And just looking back here through the field, definitely some new names that we haven't really been talking about up here. Kyle Dagger, he was involved in an incident or 2 earlier in the race. Definitely was marred back in that second pack before pit stops. He's currently fighting around in 12th. Stephen Gale, looks like Gale got his front end damage repaired, and he was one who missed the pit road entry when all of his pretty much all of his drafting partners were coming through. So he had to pop out alone. Nice to see him in 9th. Other candidates, Michael Elliott in the 6th or in the 8th car, currently in 6th. mean, remember, he was really the cause of the first caution. He got turned. So definitely a few guys with definitely an interesting lineup coming down to the end of the race.
It's a lot of guys like you're talking about that have motives all over the place. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if you see 3, maybe push even 4 wide, coming off about turn 4 here once we get going again.
And you got to think, I mean, are these drivers really going to wait until the white flag to finally start pushing the envelope just to ensure they end the race? Or are we going to start pushing it immediately on green flag? I mean, that's going to be the big question.
I think up front, you're going to see guys hold just a second to try to find where to go. But I think it's really kind of that mid to backpack you got to watch out for, at least on the first lap before the white, in terms of where you would see another caution, simply because those guys are going to be fighting like crazy to get up there. Other than that, though, up front should be, I wouldn't say calm, but I bet you it's going to get real wild once we restart.
Definitely looking at the guys who are really in the best position, I'd say that outside line of Lucas Cram and Christopher Tate. I mean, 2 team cars really just lined up nose to tail on that, really what the drivers were telling me were a preferred line. And easily you can make a 2-car tandem out of this and just try your best to try and get away from the field. That's definitely going to be another really question that they have. As it looks like the field will get back under green here. Pace car is off. And we're just the 20 to see where the 20 will go. 20 has control of the restart. We're seeing cars bundled up here in the back of the field on the inside line. Brady Floyd gets an amazing restart. Cram and Tate did not predict that start.
That one got them by surprise, no doubt. Now let's see how this shakes.
And just looking at Brady Floyd here on the inside, really, I'm not sure about Brady's strategy because he really got a big gap. It looks like Robbie Lyons and Lucas Cram obviously take it to the outside line, trying to make an advantage on it. I almost saw Christopher Tate get turned by Derek Newsom.
Yeah, Floyd, that was not the right decision, like I said, to go out that far. That's the no-no. That's the sin you don't want to do here at the Superspeedways. He's paying for it right now. That move from Lyon and Cram, phenomenal.
See, that's the thing where it's a blessing and a curse where it's, yeah, I got a great restart. Oh, no, I got a great restart.
Exactly.
As it comes to a white flag, Brady Floyd, looks like Robbie Lyons leading us down here. Lucas Cram still in behind. Now, the big question is, will Lucas Cram try and make a move here?
That's a good point. I don't know if he will. I mean, he might be trying to play protect. He doesn't have to win this race and be a big...
Ooh, Lucas Cram goes to the outside. No help. Brady Floyd's trying to make a run on the inside. They're beating them hanging in the back of the field. Everyone still keeps it straight. And it looks like Brady Floyd's just trying anything to get a little bit of help from Derek Newsom. Newsom obviously wants to try and make a run at this race. He feels like he has the speed. They take it to the outside. Wreck in the back. 5-car. Holland and others. But the race is on for the checkered flag, and it looks like Floyd may have gotten it.
Oh, my goodness. What a finish. What a move by Floyd and Newsom to get up there and get it done. I think you're right.
Floyd had it by 0.056.
Wow, and Robbie right there. You know, he was, as soon as Derek Newsom got out of line, or excuse me, not Derek Newsom, as soon as Lucas Cram got shuffled at Matthew, he realized it was no longer a 2-on-2, it was a 2-on-1. What a move by Newsom and Floyd. Great win for Brady Floyd.
I mean, he definitely was trying his all, and unfortunately, I mean, obviously, we saw on the restart, Newsom was going, and when, my apologies, when Floyd was getting freight trained on the inside, or on the outside, as you see, Floyd just having fun, but obviously, when Floyd was getting freight trained, Newsom was trying to find a way around him, and he finally just said, all right, well, I'm not going to get around you, so we're going to go through you. So he started to push him up through the field, and then with, Lucas Cram making his decision of trying to pass Lyons, that opened up the door for those two to really try to make their charge and get through the pack.
And just, I mean, sometimes that's how it is, right? You just got to hope other guys make questionable moves, and you just follow your plan, and sure enough, Floyd Newsom did. We're able to adjust a little bit too at the end there to make the right pass. And good run for Robbie Lyons, though. Coming off the win 2 weeks ago, getting his first win, to follow that up with that third place and really looked like he was in the driver's seat to take another win. That's the type of run you want to back it up with after you get that big win.
And I mean, this is what we were really talking about when we got here, which is a lot of these drivers. I mean, Brady Floyd was in that category of, I don't have anything to worry about here. I'm just going out for fun. I'm going out for a win. He was already locked in to come into the chase. But Derek Newsom was a guy who was on the outside looking in, definitely trying to make that run. And I'm not sure if he got enough points to make it in.
Well, the finishing results and some of the names I'm seeing in the spots they are, Gingerich, Oliveira, some of those guys, it's interesting, Matthew. Unfortunately, we're not going to have the live results right this minute, folks, but pay attention at next week, because it may have been a case of some guys slipped in by a point, and Newsom may have well been one of those guys, depending on where his stage points were as well.
Obviously, Brady Floyd taking the top spot here. Derek Newsom coming in a strong second. He has been bouncing throughout the field the entire day. Nice to see him get a strong finish. Robbie Lyons definitely had the heartbreaker of the day where, I mean, he was in control coming to the final lap, and unfortunately, that's where best laid plans sometimes go awry. Obviously, I believe he will be in the Chaser Championship, but we have to wait and see until the points are released. Kyle Dagger manages to come back from almost a down day. Same thing with Michael Elliott. A lot of these guys are back in the field, almost marred in different incidents, so it's nice to see them make their return. Stephen Gale, same boat. Christopher Lewis, new name just kind of pops up here. Lucas Cram, after had a last lap move. Fortunately, it looks like he fell back to 8th. The careless Tate. And it's really a heartbreaker for Tate, where Tate was in a championship battle of possibly getting in, but unfortunately, with him not being here the rest of the season, he decided to vacate his spot, so he won't be in the factor of the chase. Nick Olson definitely kind of maintaining his points position with a strong finish of 11th. Again, we got to wait for the points to finish out as we go through the rest of the top 20 here. And you just got to say, I mean, a lot of these guys, I mean, they gave it their all just trying to reach them. Let's go ahead and see if we can get our top 3 finishers here. And it looks like we've got Robbie Lyons here. That's our 3rd place finisher. Let's go ahead and pull him up. Howdy, Robbie. This is Matthew and Tyler here in the FRN booth. How you doing?
Man, I have never been better for finishing 3rd. Man, I wanted to win so bad there, but I had such a good time. I know this package is so different, but it's the closest thing that I've ever felt outside of the real thing. And yeah, I'm excited.
I have to ask you, I mean, obviously Barry's disappointment of, whole last lap and how that ended out, but obviously 3rd place finish, you've almost, I'm willing to say, locked yourself into the chase. I mean, how does this affect your next few weeks going forward?
Yeah, going into this race, obviously with so many unknowns, it's just like in real life when they make these major wholesale changes to the race cars. There's this crazy sense of unknown for everybody, and being that it's so close to the playoffs or the cutoff race, you add that in, and it's probably the biggest wild card race I've ever ran on iRacing. So I was very nervous. And I know you guys probably saw on the broadcast, it wasn't what we're used to seeing. And I think it's just a nuance of this package that everybody was trying to learn. But at the end of that race, the guys that tried different things the whole time or saw what did and didn't work, they took advantage of it. So I got to hand it to Brady and Derek both. They knew what they were doing, especially the 20 when he gave me that shove going into 3. He knew it was going to get me far enough out there to give him the advantage coming to the line. And I knew it going to 3 that I wasn't going to win the race. So it's fun, man. It's the real deal.
Yeah, and Robbie, real quick too, speaking of going down that backstretch and into 3, when Cram popped out right there, was he trying to make the move on you, or was there some communication where he was trying to maybe block a little bit? How'd that work out? I mean, I'm imagining Lucas was probably going for the win, but how'd that move play out? What'd you think when it happened?
Well, I did actually talk to him about that shortly after the checkered fell, but I think he thought that the 20 was going to get he had a run, and with this new side drafting model, he was rightfully justified in trying to block to keep him behind him. Because if he got up to Lucas's right rear at all, the side draft would just have sucked him back, even though he had me in front of him. And he felt like, that would kind of eliminate his chance of racing for a win. And I think Brady, played it perfect, and Lucas maybe made the block a little too late and or actually too early, I'll say, and gave the 20 enough room to get down under him. And again, props to the 20 because he read Lucas like a book there. It doesn't happen often. Lucas is usually way ahead of it, but one got the best of him there. But that's plate racing. That's racing in general.
Now, obviously, you mentioned it, but with the new mechanics and pretty much new aero package almost, I mean, how difficult will that make the rest of the season? Just almost as a little taste here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult. I know we all watch racing, on the weekends, and probably everybody's favorite races to watch sometimes are the plate races. And over the years, it's especially with this package, with the big spoiler and the aero ducts that they used to have, it almost seemed like, talent and all that just didn't come into play, and it wasn't that hard to drive. But I haven't driven a Cup car. I've driven trucks and Xfinity cars, but my buddy Garrett Smithley, who's a big user on the iRacing service, he has, and he told me that the Cup car on a plate track is one of the hardest things he's had to drive. And you kind of saw that with what we saw on the racetrack tonight. People are going to be figuring it out here throughout the playoffs, so I think it's going to be tough, really tough, these first few races. But I wouldn't be surprised by the end. The last couple races, everybody's going to be back to where we were the last race. They would have figured it out, and we'll be back to racing 3 wide like we always were.
Well, thanks very much for having the time to talk to us. I mean, this time we'll go ahead and give you a chance to shout out any sponsors, supporters, fans, so on and so forth.
Yeah, first off, I want to thank my sponsor on the card tonight and every night, usually in the Cup Series, Sunwest Construction, CSM Concrete, B&W Structural Engineering. Got to thank Kligerman Sport for bringing me on board for the Road to Pro Series, and proud to be a part of their team. My teammate Lucas there for working with me a lot. Dylan, Kyle Dega up there, and Nick Olson. I know he had a tough run tonight, but Chris Tate and all those guys just appreciate being a part of a team and feeling like I'm part of a family. So it's good times, man. I had fun. Thank you.
Well, it's nice to hear from you, Robbie. Look forward to talking to you next week.
Yes, sir. You'll have a good one.
Now is our third place finisher, Robbie Lyons. Let's go ahead and pull up Derek Newsome here. Strong run in second. Howdy, Derek. It's Matt and Tyler here in the booth.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Well, I mean, I guess I should ask you that. Where in the world did you come from?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer to myself. But man, this new stuff that iRacing put in these cars, it's a ton of fun. You got to manage it well with these guys, but God, we had a fast race car there at the end.
And Derek, we joked a little bit about it. It's kind of the joke every week. I mean, you're in on it. Of you're either you're bringing home the checkered, or a lot of times you wind up straight in the air, about 12, 15 feet. But man, it seemed like tonight you had a measured race, and you found yourself there with the shot at the end. Kind of walk us through that backstretch into 3 and 4 when you see Cram move up a little high, and you kind of realize maybe you could either be the guy to push Brady Floyd to the win, or maybe make things interesting at the line.
That whole that whole end there, we saw them setting up a move on the high side, and I just thought to myself, hey, I could go with Brady here. I know he's fast. We worked together in the past. I mean, last week or 2 weeks ago at Talladega again, me and him were up at the front almost the entire race there. I led 9 laps, he led 10. I knew we worked well together, and so I went and said, hey, I'm sticking with you here to the end unless I get a huge run on you. But yeah, coming down that front stretch, when I saw we could link up Lucas, he slipped under Lucas. I knew, hey, we had let him out to try. I just floored it into the back of his car and got us both cleared. And when he shot up, I shot up with him, got us a run. Right at the end there, tried to get around him, but I wasn't regging him for the win. He's worked too damn hard for this.
Now, obviously, Derek, I mean, we don't know at the moment whether you're in or out on points. It was a long shot for you to get in, but it wasn't impossible. I mean, what do you think your chances are?
I think I did what I came home just about as good as I could here. I mean, I got stage points. I got second place points. That's huge. A lot of the guys that I had to beat, they didn't have great days. It's 26 points I needed. I scored just off the top of my head right here, something like 42. So a couple of those guys, if they had a bad day, I'm in. And that would be huge for me. But God, these guys here, past couple of weeks for me, been real stressful family stuff and whatnot. And then, 2 weeks ago, I break through, first ever win in NIS, and then now here we are back at the front in SARG. It's been too long.
Right now, it looks like they may have uploaded preliminary points. Currently, it has you on the outside, but you may still have a chance with stage points, to be honest.
I mean, it's gonna be where are you getting the prelim? Oh, is it on Dan Lisa?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be close, I think.
I mean, you hauled, in all honesty. I mean, you definitely left it all out on the track.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be close here right at the end. I mean, if I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't. I mean, I had to miss a couple races this year, moving for college and whatnot. But freaking, what a race. What a car. What a venue. What a league at this point. I mean, that was the most fun I think I've had on iRacing in years.
Well, definitely nice to hear. Derek, I'll go ahead and give you a chance if you want to shout at anyone, say thanks.
Yeah, of course. I mean, these guys out here bring me a fast car. United Launch Alliance letting me put them on the car every week. I got a bunch of boys from back home here in the house with me tonight, visiting from Georgia. Y'all are excited for this. Family back home in Georgia. Just feels good. Mom, Dad, Abby, thank y'all.
For the background,
Hey guys.
Well, either way, it's nice to hear, Derek. Regardless of what happens, just keep your head up, and hopefully we'll get you that win next week.
Yeah, honestly, if it comes down to it and I'm not in the playoffs, so be it. I'm going to come out and kick these guys' ass in whatever way I can.
Make them scared. Make them scared. That was our second place finisher, Derek Newsom. And let's go ahead and go down the victory lane, and we can pull up the 20 of Brady Floyd. Hey, Brady, it's Matthew and Tyler here in the booth.
How are we doing, guys?
I mean, we're doing all right. Where in the world did that run come from?
I don't know. I'm still yet to watch it back. Couldn't tell you. Just happy it ended up going the way it did.
Brady, you sound like you're exhausted. How tough was it out there, man? Down the stretch, heard it was very difficult for a lot of guys, but also a lot of fun.
Man, the new package is insanely different. I don't think I'm too good at it. It's a lot changing from what I've known. I've never done anything outside the old package, so it's definitely a big change. Not much time to adjust. So my plan, I mean, like usual, just hang out in the back, wait until we kind of move forward on our own, and that's what we did. But I mean, I was content there to finish fifth. We had that little breakaway group of 7. I was fifth in line, and I just wasn't going to let Cram or Robbie pass. And then caution came out at the wrong time. I had taken, I think, like 1.5 gallons more than everybody else in front of me. Restarted in the lead, and just got lucky with the restart, I guess.
Well, here comes my big question is, I mean, obviously you're going into the week where you were effectively locked in on points. I mean, you didn't really come into this race with very much pressure. And obviously to have a showing like this, I mean, did that really carry momentum going into the chase, or is that more or less a, hey, that's kind of cool?
No, I think the momentum resets. I think everybody everybody locked in already was just kind of doing whatever today. I said I'm going to try to help some teammates get in, and the teammates all had to pit for fuel with 2 to go. So I said, hey, I'm already up here. I might as well try. It just worked out for me. I mean, it's nice to win. I definitely feel like it's been a long time coming. I feel like I've gotten unlucky before, but it's no discredit to anyone else tonight. I think I just got lucky with the new package.
Hey, Matthew, I'd hate to hear, how confident he's going to be when he actually believes he's good with the package coming off a win.
See, that's the thing. You stay humble, and when you start winning championships, like, oh man, maybe I do have a little bit of talent at this.
No, it's a respect thing. I respect a lot of the guys around me. I mean, I got a compliment from Robbie Lyons. He does this stuff in real life. I don't think he realizes how much that means to me. I mean, Cram's won so many of these races, and he told me it was a good move. It just I have so much respect for the guys I'm racing around. To finally get one means a lot, and then to get all the love from them after means a lot too.
I mean, realistically, you pulled a move that he literally could not stop. But I'll go ahead and I'll give you a little bit of time now to say thanks or shout out anyone.
Well, I definitely got to start. I got to apologize to Alex Fox. We were trying to catch the second group. I had about 8 people in my ear, and I accidentally, again, not being experienced with the package, I turned him off of 2, I think it was. He was able to save it because he's a good driver, but he, was at the tail end of that last restart because of it, instead of where I would have been. So I definitely like to apologize to him. I definitely like to thank Derek Newsom for that push there at the end. And then, of course, all my guys in Taco Bell, Quinn, Brett, Luke, everyone. Everyone helped me tonight, helped me learn the package, everything. Definitely like to thank my parents back home for watching, all the friends and family out here supporting the stream, you guys for broadcasting, NS Service for sponsoring the race. Just so much to be thankful for. Really over the moon right now.
Well, go ahead and enjoy the win, because next week, fortunately, a lot of these points reset, and it's a different ball game. So go ahead and take the week at the top of the mountain, and go ahead and take that next week.
All right, thank you. Have a good one. We'll see y'all next week.
Absolutely. And that was your winner, Brady Floyd. Now, Tyler, just looking at that race, a lot of drivers really commented on the package and saying, man, this is way different from what we've actually been racing.
Yeah, and Matthew, that's going to be the top headline going into next week. How are the guys going to adjust? How are guys going to adapt and learn? It's going to make for a heck of a round 1 of the playoffs. And
you got to think a lot of these guys, like I said, obviously we saw it falter just a little bit this race with Lucas Cram, but you got to be thinking in the back of your mind. I may be entertaining some odd thoughts here, but hey, Lucas Cram was really good with the old package. Is he still good with this package? Can he still maintain that dominance? That's the big questions to ask.
And that's a proper question. I don't think that's a weird question at all, is to say, okay, was anybody, who was holding back in this race, to your point? Was Cram kind of, holding back a little bit? He's still up front. Don't get me wrong. It's Lucas Cram. He's going to find his way up front. But to that point, maybe he wasn't as dominant as he liked to be. And he got out-juked a little bit. Some that, as we know, extremely rare. So even Cram, for a guy as dominant as he's been trying to learn the series and, for this new package, it should make for really chaotic, round 1.
And see, that's the big question here. Obviously, we saw Nick Olson have a bad race. We saw Clint Spillman kind of have some troubles this race. Guys you usually see as dominant just not being there. So it's going to be a question whether it continues on to our next race.
No doubt. But like we said, these guys are all super talented. I promise you, there's going to be some hours put in between now and next week.
Absolutely. Well, that'll be all from our coverage here at Talladega today. We'll end up joining you next week for the SunWest Construction 200 at Daytona. We're going back to the Daytona 2008 course for our start of the chase. Obviously, I'm kind of curious to how the new package is going to work out with the bumpy surface of Daytona 08.
Show wild, folks. Tune in. Same time as next week. It's going to be crazy.
Maybe a little bit sass for myself, but maybe Mike will be back next week.
Maybe so.
But either way, we're going to go ahead and thank you guys for watching. Tune in next week.